Welcome back, squad. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Full Ride, the college recruiting podcast. This is your coach, Quito Delgado, and our mission is very, very clear. If you don't know by now, or maybe this is your first time tuning in, our mission is clear. We want to help our busy, on-the-go families learn the ins and outs of college recruiting. Right. At the end of the day, we want you to feel good. We want to empower you. We want to educate you so that you are better equipped to take complete control of your college recruiting journey. And then, of course, we want to help our parents better support their student athletes. So thank you for tuning in. I encourage you to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast app because we do release a new episode each and every Thursday. And I want to make sure you get notified. But today we have a special guest joining me, Savon Huggins. He is a former five-star recruit out of New Jersey who, after over 50 offers, decided to attend Rutgers University. And he was a running back for them and had a good career. And but parents and student athletes, Savon drops game all day long. I mean, throughout the entire episode, he drops some great nuggets for you. So I want to make sure you take your notebooks, your pens and pencils out, and you jot down these notes because it's really going to help you throughout your recruiting process. But I want to, before we get to him, if you'll indulge me, tell you a quick story, right? Because I think many of you, and again, our downloads show it. You are consuming our content. I love it. You know, you're listening, you're tuning in, every Thursday. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Hey, by the way, if you'd be so kind, leave us a review and give us a rating on Apple Podcasts. That can help us grow the show. But yes, you are listening to us each and every week. We love it and we appreciate it. And many of you now, you receive our newsletters each week. That's all great. I know we have families, that we work with one-on-one through our coaching program. And now we have coaches that are reaching out to us and we do workshops. Why do I say all this? Because many of you are consuming information. You're educating yourself on college recruiting. You're asking good questions, and that's all well and good. But eventually, like anything in life, you have to take action and you have to take your plans and you have to now execute on them. Right. And I don't care if it's whether you're starting a business, whether you're trying to lose weight, you're going on a trip and you're driving across country, you have to map it out, but then you have to actually drive and execute it. College recruiting is no different. And I just kind of want to show you a quick story to kind of to drive this point home. So back in college, when I was at Northeastern University, playing the football team, we were preparing to play against Villanova University. And at the time, Villanova had a phenomenal running back. You Philadelphia Eagle fans this name may sound familiar to you. Brian Westbrook. He was a running back for Villanova, and he actually ended up getting drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles. I think he had like a 9-year career. He's an amazing athlete and running back. Probably the best player I've ever played against. Maybe Jerry Azuma. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. I apologize. But so anyway, we're preparing. And at the time, Brian Westbrook, not only was he one of the best running backs in the country, but he was a phenomenal punt returner. So throughout the entire week of practice, our coach said, listen, we can't control how often they're going to give him the ball, out of the backfield. There's only so much we can do. But one thing we can do is make sure we do not let him beat us as a punt returner. So literally we would practice over and over and over again, different, punt schemes, kicking it out of bounds, directional kicking, whatever the case may be. But the goal was we are not going to let him kill us. On punt returns, we'd watch film of his highlights and our coach say, you can't let this happen. I mean, it was crazy, right? I was like, wow, we've never spent so much time preparing and planning on special teams. Yes, they're important, but all right, enough already. Well, sure enough, we travel to Villanova. Our first series of the game, we go 3-and-out, unfortunately. So we go to punt the ball, And I remember vividly, the goal was to punt the ball to the far right sideline, high in the air. That gives our team, a chance to get down. So actually, the goal was, hey, you don't worry about so much about distance. Kick it really high and kick it to the right. So that way, it gives our team time to get down the field. And now we can use the sideline as our 12th defender. I mean, and we practiced it all week long, and it was perfect, right? Well, here's the thing. When we called the play in the game, we kicked the ball right down the middle of the field. Brian Westbrook made one person miss, and it was off to the races for like a 70-yard touchdown return. So why do I say this to you? Because, yes, I really do want you to equip yourself and to educate yourself on this process. But ultimately, where the rubber hits the road is action and execution. And athletes, you know this because you go through this all the time in practice, right? You guys work on your plays, and it always looks good in practice. But then when it comes to the game and it's live, it's go time, you have some opposition now. It's all about, okay, do you execute or do you not? It's really that simple. So I can tell you, build your target list of schools. Well, you can hear that, but now are you doing it? I can tell you to have an open mind. You can say, yeah, I'm going to have an open mind, but then what happens when the first school you've never heard of, or it's a Division II school instead of a Division I coach? What happens when they call you and you say, oh, I never heard of them, I'm all set? What happens when I tell you you need to prepare and practice the ACT or the SAT? You got to dedicate an hour or so a week to prepare for that, and you don't do that. What happens when we tell you to take the SAT as a sophomore? You don't do that. What happens when we tell you you have to reach out to 50 schools and you don't do that? See, planning is one thing. Eventually, you have to execute the plan. You have to go to work. And too many of you aren't going to work. You're not doing the work. So, yes, I want you to equip yourself and educate yourself, but ultimately, you got to get busy. You got to get in the game. You got to pick up the phone, call coaches, email coaches, get it done. All right. That's my sermon today. I didn't mean to go that far, to be honest, but I do want to make sure you're doing that. And as you start this process, quick thing, and then we'll get to Savon. As you're starting this process, as you want to get off and build that right foundation, click the little link in the show notes, right? The show notes. You can also go to fullride.libsyn.com, fullride.libsyn.com. And on that on that webpage, you're going to see the show notes. Click the one of the links there. It's going to say avoid these 10 recruiting mistakes, right? So avoid these 10 recruiting mistakes that could cost you a scholarship. Click on that, drop us your email, and we're going to send you a quick email that breaks down the 10 things we don't want you to do that could prevent you from earning that scholarship that you obviously want and probably deserve, so long as you put in the right work. So without further ado, here is my interview with Savon Huggins. He not only is a former 5-star recruit, but now he is the owner of Do Whatever It Takes. He'll break it all down for you. But I hope you enjoy the show, and don't forget to take notes. Savon, my man, how are you doing?
I'm great, man. I'm blessed. I'm very fortunate. I'm happy to be able to wake up this morning and kind of be able to be a blessing to somebody else. So I'm feeling good, man. I'm definitely feeling encouraged and just kind of great to, enjoy the summer. It's been a very long summer and an exciting summer so far. So it's going good, though. It's going good, man.
Awesome. So, I very briefly touched on, I read your bio to our listeners in the introduction. I mentioned how you are, a 5-star college recruit. But other than that, I didn't say too much. I want to give you the opportunity to kind of share your story. So why don't you just introduce yourself, to our listeners. Let us know where you're from, what school you went to, what position you played, and then we'll kind of fill in the gaps and let you share some wisdom throughout the episode.
All right, cool. Sounds good, man. Well, my name is Savon Huggins, from Jackson, New Jersey. That's down by Six Flags, exit 7A off the Turnpike. I went to St. Peter's Prep High School in Jersey City, New Jersey. I played my college ball at Rutgers, and got my economics degree. Graduated college 3.5 years, and then I had another year of eligibility left, so I went to University of Northern Iowa and did my last year there. Got my master's in sports psychology, and then after college, I trained for the NFL. Got a opportunity with the Green Bay Packers in rookie minicamp. Did well. Unfortunately, I didn't get signed, so just kept going and kept going. So this was back in 2016. And after that, I kept training, and I got a call from a CFL team, Saskatchewan Rough Riders, in July of that year, and they called me and they said, "Listen, my agent called me and said, pack your bags, you'd be going to CFL." I said, "Great. So what's going on? And how does it work?" He said, "Well, if you do well out there, you're on a tryout for like 2 days. If you do well out there, you'll stay out there for the rest of the season." Okay, cool. So 2 days go by, I'm still there. So feeling good at least about the opportunity. Unfortunately, I didn't get signed. Like, I was there for about a week, didn't get signed, and came back home. I ended up getting involved in some high school football. I coached high school ball, Somerville High School. Not at my alma mater, unfortunately, but I still, am very, very active at my school. I do a lot of speaking engagements. I'm popping up there all the time I can. It's just, better for me as far as, job wise and all that to be where I'm at now. And then I opened up my own training business, man. Do it, DOWIT, and which stands for do whatever it takes. I opened up my training business this past January, officially April 3rd. But I've been training people literally right after I graduated college from 2000, after the NFL rookie workouts with the CFL NFL back in 2016. So going on 2 years now, I've been training people, and I officially made it a business, man.
That's awesome, and that's a great introduction. And I just want to say there's so much to I don't know where to start, quite frankly, because there's so many things that kind of touched me when as you were talking. But so here we have, I'm going to go with the academic route. We have people, a former, like I said, 5-star college recruit, and we're going to talk about, what that whole process was like. But more importantly, though, you had opportunity, you got a platform. And so we really explain to people, and our athletes in particular, who, they really think it's all about having talent. And but for you, if I get a sense that you got to college and you really made education and academics a priority, because you graduated in 3.5 years. And then that 4th year, you left Rutgers after you graduated and you pursued your master's. So that's awesome. Yeah. Can you just talk about the importance of, like, why you did that and how you did it, so that we meet somebody else who may have that same desire, you can kind of share the blueprint with them?
Well, I'll first and foremost, I'll say this is I want to thank my parents, because my parents have instilled those core values in me way before, I got to college. So that definitely helped me, and I'm very fortunate because I know a lot of people in my position that I play with, in college, don't have that support system. So I will say, just with that support system, I just took full advantage of that very early on, in order for me to be able to have an opportunity to be able to do that. Really, it came down to, just tell you a little bit about, my high school is, I'm from Jackson, New Jersey. St. Peter's Prep is in Jersey City. So that's a 2-hour commute each and every day from where I'm from to Jersey City. I did that for 4 years, and I graduated with 3.8. So, again, that goes way back before I even got to college, that mentality of making sure that I take care of my academics, because that's the one thing I knew I always could control. And I always took it to heart. My parents used to always tell me, make sure that you, do what you got to do in the classroom so you can be successful. And football and sports aren't going to last forever. So you have to make sure you set yourself up for life after sports. So I always took that to heart, even at a young age. And I made sure that I wasn't the stereotypical athlete with no grades. And that was what I never wanted to be from day one, especially, to be honest with you, going to a school back in Jackson where I was one of the only minorities. So for me, that I kind of took my grades very, very seriously from a young age because I just didn't want to be labeled as the fast kid in school who didn't have good grades. You know what I'm saying? Who was just a ball player. So from that point on, I always had that mentality like, listen, you are never going to question, who I am as a person or that I'm just a player. I'm an all well-rounded person. So with that mentality, that helped set myself up for high school for me to be able to commute, 2 hours and work on time management skills and do all those things and lead by example and getting home late and waking up early and doing my homework in those late nights. That 2 hour commute every day for 4 years and doing that, actually 4 hours between going up and coming back, helped instill those core values in me about time management going into college. And I knew from a young age when I went to college, I wanted to own something. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I wanted to be involved in sports and I wanted to run my own business. I wanted to work for myself one day. And I chose to, take economics when I got to college. So just to kind of tell people about, when you get into college, usually or probably 90% of the time, unless you know exactly what you want to do when you get to college, and even still then, they give all freshmen standard classes because football is more important than the academics, no matter what they say, unless you go to Stanford or Northwestern, Notre Dame, or something like that. But even still, football is more important. So they give each of the freshmen the same class schedule. Well, for me, I didn't have that same schedule because I knew what I wanted to do when I got to college. And because I was a big time recruit, they kind of gave me a little more leeway to be able to have my way in what I wanted to do. So I knew I wanted to be economics major. So from day one, I was in econ classes the day I was in, freshman. So instead of taking those classes in the spring or taking those classes as a sophomore, I was in, sophomore classes as a freshman. And that helped give me, an opportunity to kind of jump on exactly my career early. And I took full advantage of that by also loading up on my classes throughout my years there in college because, again, I didn't want to just go, be the standard 12 credits, find some filler classes, and then just be fine. I wanted more for myself. And I believe that, I wanted to be a hard worker off the field like I was on the field. So I make sure I, set that example. And that gave me an opportunity to be able to graduate in 3.5 years because I didn't take the easy way out where, in the springtime, most people kind of just lay back, I'm hanging out, or I'm going to just take some classes just to get by a semester because I have a spring ball. No, I was actually hitting the books harder. In the summertime, instead of taking 6 credits, I'm taking 9 credits. So each and every year, me taking more credits kind of helped make the load easier in my senior year where I can bang out 15 credits during football season and be done. So that, was kind of, how that happened, through time management. And that gave me an opportunity to go to a different school and not be lingering around with credits in the spring and not trying to figure out the next school I want to go to. And even out there, I already was on a different mentality out in Iowa because ain't nothing out there but, field and land. Listen, I'm going to get this. I ain't going to come out. I'm not going to be out in Iowa for a year. So I'm going to make the most of this. So I'm going to load up on credits in the spring, load up on credits in the summer, and load up on credits in the fall because I don't want to be lingering when a couple classes left because I'm not going to come back to Iowa. So I made sure that throughout the whole entire time there that I was loading up. So I loaded up in the spring. I loaded up in the summertime. I went home for maybe a few days. And I came right back and I started doing my work. So I took 12 credits instead of 6 in the summertime. But those credits also will help, I was kind of setting up for the fall because with your master's, you got to write a paper and all that stuff. So I'm doing my reading credits and my practical credits in the summertime to get ahead of schedule. So when football season came, I was just banging up regular classes, and that gave me an opportunity to be able to, graduate in a year. And even still, the professors didn't believe that I can do it because it's a 1.5-year program. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, 30 credits. So literally, I banged out 30 credits in a year, which is kind of unheard of to bang out 30 in a year. Usually it's 12 and 12, or usually grad classes are actually 9 and 9. So it kind of takes a 1.5 years because some of the classes are more rigorous. But I was there for one reason: play football and get an education. So I made sure I made the most of it.
And my man, you just
Yeah.
honestly, man, you just dropped some serious knowledge and just game insight for our athletes. I don't know. So I wanted to pick up because I say this stuff, and it's one thing for me, being 39 years old, played, a number of years ago. But here we have someone who just graduated a few years ago.
Right.
And I tell kids this all the time to you use the game. Don't let the game use you.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned
100%.
it early on, very beginning. You were saying, a lot of times because you're an athlete, they enroll you in these easy courses. And a lot of times they have you choose majors that aren't even going to help you down the line. So
absolutely,
the athletes and parents, like, you guys have a game plan, because you have an opportunity now to go to institution if you're on scholarship, where they're going to obviously give you, quote unquote, I mean, obviously nothing's free. You got to put in the work, but they're going to give you,
right,
financially a free education. With that education comes a number of resources, study hall, tutors, academic advisors, all that. Use that, take advantage of it, and just put in the work, because not only did you go in there and get a bachelor's degree, but then you parlay that into a master's degree. That's a classic example. So don't let anyone tell you, first of all, you can't do both. You don't have the time. Mm-hmm. You were Savon was an economics major, graduated with a master's degree in 4 years. And then, by the way, man, props to you. 4 hours of commute time for 4 years as a high school athlete. That's awesome. That really helped you out. And I want to give you an opportunity. We're going to get back to the recruiting, but I do want to talk about it because you also are a trainer. You're an entrepreneur. Can you just talk about, being, well, first of all, definitely plug your business again and what you do for athletes, but also, what did playing, college athletics, how has that helped you now professionally as you look to build your business?
I'll tell you what, man. It's funny you asked me that, because it made me who I am today. And I know it sounds so cliche, but because of my injuries, because of my setbacks as being a 5-star recruit and not playing how I should have, lived up to the expectations and all that stuff, has made me who I am today, and to be able to give back to the next, to help them, educate them about the nuances of this game and understanding the big picture of things. Because, as far as, training concerned, it doesn't matter the sport. I mean, I tell people all the time, like, it's bigger than training. So you can go train with anybody. I said, doesn't matter if it was me, or Joe, or Susan, or Mike. Like, there's so many trainers out there. Like, honestly, it's so overly saturated. And the difference where I kind of feel I separate myself is the mental aspect, because I went through it, one. And two, it's one thing to go through something, and it's one thing to be able to articulate that to the youth, and for them to be able to grasp that concept of these things as they're going through it. I'll give you a prime example. One of my clients last year were playing, and they got hurt through the football season, and they were kind of down, and that I kind of hindered the rest of their season. And I'll always tell them before they even got hurt, like, through training, I said, listen, adversity is going to happen to you, but it's going to don't allow it to define who you are, because that's when you kind of start to become who you are. Like, don't allow whatever setback that you're going to go through for that to affect whatever you got going on at that time. And I specifically remember him calling me and crying about, his injury, and he's good now and all that, but like, it's kind of plagued the rest of the season. And I said, do you remember when we had that conversation throughout the summer, last summer, when we were training? And I said, I can't tell you what that adversity is going to be, but there's going to be something that's going to happen. But it's how you respond is what matters, because listen, you're going to fail more than you're going to succeed. And I told all my clients that, and I told even my coach that. So there's no need to get upset. I said, because you're going to fail more than you're going to succeed, so why get upset in the first place? So you're kind of wasting time and energy of getting upset about something that you can't control. I said, think about it this way. Did you get upset when you couldn't did you get upset when you didn't know how to tie your shoes? I said, they were like, no. Obviously everybody's like, no. Okay. So if you didn't get upset about tying your shoes, you figured it out, right? Like you found a way. Now you tie your shoes. Same thing with an injury. Or the same thing when you set back in life. I mean, it's going to happen. But you found a way. You found a way to learn how to ride a bike. You didn't get upset because you just couldn't get the first, the second, and third time. You kept going until you figured it out. I said, and that's with anything in life. But what happens is as we continue to get older, I just start to see that everybody starts to compete with each other. And, the social media era is such a big thing nowadays that if you aren't doing somebody else's, that's when you start to compare yourself. I said, but when you're young, you're not comparing you tying your shoes to someone else tying their shoes or them riding a bike and I can't ride a bike or rollerblade. But people don't think about it from that aspect of things. They just think about it from, everything is fine, I get older. But then when you start to when you start to really be indulged with something that you enjoy and you see that someone else reaping the benefit that you can potentially reach, it kind of, really puts you in check. And most people want people to feel sorry for themselves. And a lot of times with the youth, that's their crutch is to make people feel sorry for themselves. And I always tell them, I said, listen, nobody cares about your feelings. And it's not personal. I said, but you have to understand is that's what life is. And I noticed, even including myself at some point, I thought because I got 2 degrees, because I know all these different people, that this was going to help set me up for life after I played sports. And at first, for about a year and change, I was kind of like stuck in limbo. And I'm sitting here to myself, I did all the right things, and I'm stuck. I can't imagine people who just, who just kind of got by trying to figure it out. I said, well, most people are content with what their lives are. Most people, just, whatever, I'm just working 9 to 5, or whatever, this is going to happen to me. I'm going to, make excuses and all that and play the blame game. I said, but sometimes you have to understand, step outside yourself and just own up to whatever the case may be and just learn from it. Like you learn how to tie your shoes, go through this injury, go through this setback of the guy not playing in front of you, or the girl, on the basketball team that's, starting and you're the backup point guard. Like learn to go through those things because that's what life is. And it helps people put in perspective whatever adversity they're going through at the youth level, because I can kind of dummy it down to help show them that they've been through something similar throughout their life, but they just don't see it that way. So when I paint that picture for them, then they kind of realize, yeah, I see what you're saying now. And I said, listen, you're gonna have something else that's gonna set you back, and it's gonna happen again and again and again. I said, but that's what makes you you, and that's what makes you be successful. I said, that's why Jordan said that. And myself, like, I'm successful because I had a sprained MCL, a torn rotator cuff, and 2 wrist surgeries. I'm successful because I did not allow those things to affect me going to the classroom and still doing my work. Like I could have easily gotten a slump when I messed my knee up and tore my rotator cuff. Like I'm gonna just kind of just take 9 credits and not focus on, my academics because I can't play to the best of my abilities. Well, you know what? Instead of me feeling sorry for myself, I'm going to load up more because I can't practice and take advantage of being in the classroom to make up for that. So people don't think like that. People, like it's a trickle down effect. The law of attraction. Once one thing happens, another thing happens, and this happens, and this happens. Well, at some point, you got to kind of check yourself and stop that if you want to be successful. And that's what I kind of articulate to the youth when it comes to even in training and in recruiting, because that's the big part that people miss, and that's the elephant in the room, about this whole thing. And it bothers me especially when I see young kids having success early and they're doing it their way, but it isn't the right way. And I say to myself all the time, I said, listen, there's going to come a point in time they're going to be really, really confused because they've done it this way their whole life and nobody ever educated them on the way to do it, but they got away with it their way until life hits. Then, like, how you respond, but it's too late by then, So that's kind of how I, kind of paint a picture and what I embody when I talk to the youth and how I train and how I just kind of go about life, man.
Love that. And now parents and coaches, athletes, now why I want to have Savon Huggins on, because, a lot of you may have said, oh, former 5-star recruit, went to Rutgers, went to Northern Iowa, and but like he's so much more than just an athlete, just a 5-star recruit. And I really hope, again, my parents and coaches, you guys are, just share this with your student athletes, because if hearing Savon talk doesn't reach them, no one's going to reach him, because he literally got to the level at a very high level that they're trying to get to. There's no higher level than 5-star recruit. But
right.
I think but more important than that, quite frankly, is it's really what you've done with your platform, and really how you have really leveraged your gift. I tell this, I'm gonna allow myself to kind of go for a little bit, but I tell my kids, my athletes all the time that I work with, and their parents, is, you have to truly understand that your gift is athletics. Like that's the gift God gave you, to really kind of even the playing field, tilt the playing field in your favor. But that's not all that you have to be. You gotta, use that platform, use the opportunities, the doors that are opens for you to then pivot into other areas, whether it's entrepreneurship, like what you're now doing, but then also whether it's getting that education. You know what I mean? So I'm just really proud of you, man. I'm just happy for you. And I know families, they tend to tune in, no doubt. They tend to tune in because they want to hear, and we're going to get to it, some recruiting plays, to help them get to that next level, to get that exposure. But at the same time, it does you no good to get there to college, to get that scholarship, and not take advantage of the opportunities that are in front of you, because you are going to get hurt. You are going to have people who play above you. There will be a new coach that comes in, and all of a sudden they recruit a player over you. So what happens? And the key is you got to have that right mindset to make sure that you can overcome it, and then you stay the course. One thing I always say, and I'll let Savon hop back on, but I always tell our athletes, college is phenomenal. It's a great experience. But at the end of the day, it's 4 years, 5 years, whatever, when I'm saying as a student athlete and you're getting paid, if you're as an athlete, treat it like a business trip. At the end of the day, I know it's hard. Like, you got people in corporate America, they're always on trips, and they may try to, and here's an example, they go on these trips. Maybe mom and dad do this. They travel a lot for work. And while they're there, they do some sightseeing. They may go to a concert, whatever. But at the end of the day, they are there to handle business, take care of business, and then come on back home. That's the same exact thing you guys have to be doing in college. You go there, have fun, make your connections, have friends, all that. But at the end of the day, don't lose sight of the fact that you are on a business trip and you are there to take care of and handle that business. But
absolutely,
let's make sure now we do give our families some advice as far as how to go about getting recruited. Now, clearly your experience is a little bit different than the majority.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, now obviously that speaks to the fact that you were really good being a 5-star recruit. But even with that said, what are some things you had wished you knew about the process that you know now that maybe you didn't know as a sophomore, junior, senior in high school, getting recruited by, hundreds of schools nationally?
I'm gonna be honest with you, and I'm not even trying to sound like I know it all. I feel like my parents did a phenomenal job of like making me appreciate the process. Like this is around literally right around the time Twitter started to blow up, but like Twitter and Facebook was hot. Facebook was hot, but it wasn't like the first thing you did when you got a scholarship was you posted it. And some of those kids, like, I'm very fortunate and blessed to And after every opportunity I got, I made sure that I, said thank you to the coach, called them. I appreciated it. I always tried to make an impression on those coaches because I never knew who I was going to run into if I was going to need them later. And that was one thing I tried to make sure I, harped on. And even when I, some of the other guys on my team, I was highly recruited. When we would go to camps, I would make sure that I would put my other players on. Like, literally, I would go to college, Pitt or Rutgers. You need to look at one of my players. Oh, we're going to have you. We would love to have you. Yeah, check out one of, like, it was never about me. It was, like, never about me because I realized the opportunities I had could open doors for other people. So I was like, I'm going to leverage, my platform to help put other people on. And I would do that at camps, and I would do that at school visits, and and they may not offer that kid, but now they're looking at him. You know what I'm saying? And maybe an offer might come out of that. And I would always do that because you know what? I remember when I wanted to be there. When I was in high school, middle school, I looked up to Will Hill when I was coming out, and I wanted to be like the next big time recruit coming out of New Jersey. Now, did I ever think I was going to be where I was? Absolutely not. But I always envisioned playing varsity as a freshman and scoring and that. And when all these things started to happen, I started to realize, and instead of me just basking in this, let me put other people on, because that's what it's more about. But it's interesting you mentioned about the recruiting process, because it's kind of completely different than when I was in high school, because now these camps are so important nowadays. Like back when I was in high school, going to camps wasn't that big of a deal. Like the spark, this and that. I mean, they literally would have me just come to camp just because, they wanted a name. So I wouldn't have to pay for anything, but I never really did anything. I didn't need to. There was no point in me going out there and doing exercise. Now it's like, you're bugging if you're not competing with these X, Y, and Z, and that's what they want to see now. But 7-on-7s was just starting to come to a platform. I remember when it was called Badger Sport, and that wasn't, a big deal back then. Running 40s and all that wasn't a big deal. Now, you can get a scholarship off of doing those things and going to camps. And the one thing I will say, I think a lot of young athletes, when they go to different camps, it's kind of they get stage fright, but they're not afraid to put themselves out there. And I tell now when I was at the Nike Open and different than that, when I see this kid that's special, I'm like, but maybe not have an opportunity. Listen, this is an opportunity for you to make a name for yourself, because now, literally, when I was back in high school, and I'm speaking from maybe 6 years ago, if you made somebody do something or do somebody, it wasn't going to get posted on social media. Nowadays, if you go up against the best recruit and you do a one-on-one and beat them, and you post it and that goes to social media and it goes viral, you might actually get a scholarship nowadays. That's crazy to me, because that's not film, but you got to play the game. So, when it comes to this recruiting thing, you have to really map out exactly what you want to do and where you want to go to first off. You got to figure out what the depth chart is at these different schools. You got to figure out what regions of the country do they recruit players. And that's a big thing that people don't understand, is that you got to be cognizant of when you go to different schools, where are these kids coming from, and do they show favoritism? If everybody's out in Wyoming, are they bringing kids from New Jersey out there? Has any people from this area has excelled out there? If they haven't, why? All these things all go in a part of what the recruiting process is. And as silly as that sounds, some of that stuff is true. If so-and-so is a home state kid, they're going to give him the benefit of the doubt, no matter what, and you working up an uphill battle, and you have to understand kind of the nuances of that. You got to talk to different people. What I would do on recruiting visits, and I did this, and this is a little nugget I can tell, even people who get scholarships to do, is when I would go on recruiting visits, being a big-time recruit, they would always put me with one of the big stars on the football team. But what I would do is I would say, if we had a party or whatever the case may be, I'm sitting down, I would ask one of the freshmen that's already there how the school experience is, because they can tell me better than the big-time recruit can, because he got a different lifestyle than that freshman does who's not playing. So I can get a real perspective on my Auburn visit, on my Michigan State visit from, this is before Le'Veon Bell blew up, from Le'Veon Bell instead of Edwin Baker, or, from one of the other freshmen instead of being, one of Michael Dyer was my host at Auburn. I can get a real experience and find out what it really is like, because that's potentially what I could be. You know what I'm saying? So those, because being a successful college football player, there is luck involved in that stuff. And yes, you need to be talented and all that to have the opportunity, but to be in the right places, in the right system, with the right coaching staff to feature you, all those things need to be, kind of ducks in line in order. But, when you go in different visits, ask questions. Don't be, there's no such thing as a dumb question, because, they're going to sell you on what they think that you should know, not what you don't, you know what I'm saying? So I made sure that I freaking, went deep down and dived and talked to the academic advisor and talked to this and that. And if you talk to enough people, you'd be surprised, how the story may potentially switch up from talking to different people on the same staff. maybe instead of talking to that wide receiver coach and the running back coach, the defensive backs coach, maybe talk to a quality control guy, or maybe talk to, academic advisor. Now I'm not saying that their stories won't align, but you can tell a lot about the program when people talk about it. If they stutter, if they ask questions and they kind of give you a runaround, you ask them, the certain right questions and they kind of don't really have an answer for you. So like all those things take into play. And the number one thing when it comes to that is if they tell you you're going to play from day one, don't even think about going there, because you don't want to even be associated with that, because ain't nobody, not even if you were a 5-star, are guaranteed to play if you don't perform. Like, that's just a fact. Unless you going to a smaller school and you the big name guy, but if you're a big name guy, you ain't going to small school in the first place. So if any coach tell you got an opportunity to play right away, don't even take kind of scratch them off the list unless you know for a fact if you've seen what's going on, because they do that a lot. And there might be that redshirt freshman wide receiver that's been holding, that's been balling, and all you see is the junior or senior about to graduate, and you might hop in next. But what you don't know is when you get there, that redshirt freshman receiver that wasn't on the visit with you is the one making the plays now, and you confused because you thought that you had opportunity, but this dude is better than you thought he was just because he was redshirted. Now, you got to know all these different things and these mind games that these coaches play, because, again, they try to get the next one, especially if they got a dude that's a junior that's a baller, and I got a freshman that's a baller. I'm going to redshirt him real quick and save him or play him sparing. Like, all those things you got to kind of take into account, because they can get you that way. They definitely can, get you that way. So you got to just know what the right question to ask. And there's no such thing as a dumb question. There's none. And if they show you or kind of come off to you a specific way when you ask questions, that coach ain't that coach, that place isn't for you, because they should never make you feel uncomfortable on your visit. Like that's it. That's like, you buying a car. If I'm asking you questions about a car and you kind of look at me crazy because I asked this, I probably shouldn't get that car then, because I probably shouldn't be doing business with you, because you're making me like I'm buying from here. Like, you should be willing to show me everything, So that's kind of what it is when it comes to the recruiting, man.
I just kind of let, if you guys know, I let Savon just roll, and parents, athletes too. I just hope. You guys may have to just rewind this and make sure you have your notebook out, your pens, because in this, he just probably at least gave you at least 7-10 takeaways in there, all the way back. I love this, what you said. Now, not everybody's in a position of, again, we're talking with Savon Huggins, former 5-star recruit, went on to Rutgers and then Northern Iowa, right?
Yes, Northern Iowa.
Northern Iowa got his master's degree there. Played his final year at Northern Iowa. But you said it. So now I always say, to whom much is given, much is required. So if you are somebody, a family, you are in that situation where you have a lot of coaches, kind of pulling at you, and you have all this exposure. Use that platform. You guys always talk about, I know the slang, put me on. Put your boys on. Put your teammates on. That goes for boys and girls, right? Because you're going to be good.
Right.
Try to, get your teammates some exposure. But even more importantly than that, even if you're not comfortable doing that, at bare minimum, what Savon did is hold yourself to a high standard. Be respectful. So that way they know that they may recruit other kids at the bare minimum from that school, because they say, wow, look how respectful. You guys notice, he said he wrote handwritten notes to the coaches. I say this all the time to my families. Go on Vistaprint.com, print off 50, 100 personalized stationery. Write a quick note to a coach. Hey, coach, thanks for coming to my game. Thanks for inviting me to your camp. Thanks for hosting my family on my official visit. Thanks for popping out and talking to me on my unofficial visit. There are so many opportunities to build that rapport. So Savon talked about that. He talked about going on these trips. A lot. I remember this. They put you with the upperclassmen, the real, the balls on the team, if you will. They're going to show you a good time and all that fun stuff. But make sure you're deliberate. talk to current freshmen on the team, talk to the training staff, administrators, whatever the case may be. Have a game plan. You only get, just so you guys know, we're going to kind of drop some knowledge too. I mean, we already dropped knowledge, but as far as the rules go, for the Division I level particularly, you only get 5 official visits. This is when the schools pay for you to go, you and your family. They pay for your transportation, they put you in a hotel, or they pay for your meals, all that stuff. So while you're there on their dime, you make sure you take full advantage of those 5 opportunities. And you get the questions you need answered. But then even, just as far as like just not being so caught up in, like I love the fact that you said any coach that says they guarantee you playing time. That's actually one of the things I always tell recruits to just ignore. It's like, don't even pay attention to their coach. I'm not saying that you were a little bit harsh. You said scratch them off the list. I mean, I think that's just kind of a reality. I think most of them kind of do that, to be honest. I mean, you may get some. They're all going to say this to you. They're all going to say this to you. How about this? We'll meet here in the middle. They all say to you, you have the opportunity to play as a freshman, right? At least we'll say that. Now, if they go on, so if they say to you, hey, if you work hard, we're going to give you an opportunity to play as a freshman. That's one thing, right? Now, if they come in straight up to you, say you're guaranteed to start as a freshman, then yes, that's when I am with Savon. I would highly question their integrity, because that's showing me that they're willing to say anything to get you on campus, and they can't make you that guarantee. Because as a matter of fact, while they're telling you this, they're going into someone else's house a couple of days later and they're saying the same thing to him or her. So you gotta don't get romanticized by that, my man. Listen, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say because I got like 5 more minutes, so I wanna really, we're gonna have to definitely do a part 2 because this flew by. We gotta do a part 2 and have you back again, man, because you dropped some serious game to our listeners. I want to give everybody an opportunity because I just think, particularly if you're in the New Jersey area, if you're looking for somewhere to train, you're looking for someone to be a mentor to your student athletes. Much better than Savon, not to embarrass you, my man. But so why don't you take an opportunity to share how our families throughout the nation, but particularly in New Jersey, how they can connect with you on social media?
You can follow me on all platforms at Team Do It, TEAM, Do It, DOWIT. So at Team Do It on Facebook, on Instagram and Twitter, LinkedIn. For people who don't know what Do It embodies or stands for, Do It stands for do whatever it takes. I formulated that because I believe, like, again, it's bigger than training, and I kind of embody that within my sessions and educating the importance of being a student athlete and going above and beyond, not just on the playing fields. And having that mentality will take you far more in life with your legs or your arms or your body can ever do. I said, because each and every person's career is going to end, at one time or another. As you can see, Magic Johnson and Kobe Bryant and LeBron James and Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, what do they all do? They own different things. Tom Brady has a gym right connected to the New England Patriots facility. These different baseball players open up these academies and all that. So you can't play your sport forever, but it's what you do after sport and throughout that. And LeBron opened up his school academy and using your platform to help others. That's the whole purpose in playing the sport. It's a team game to help and serve others, and that's what the Do It embodies. And we talk and we preach that a lot, because the training is the easy part. That we can guarantee you to help you, at least get better from where you started. That is, but the mentality is what we're trying to help instill in you, so you can instill that mentality in the next person or your teammates or your friends, and have that competitive accountability culture around you, because those are the tools you need to be in order to be successful.
Love that, man. You have an awesome message for sure. Again, I want to remind you guys, it's going to be in the show notes. You're going to have all of Savon's information, but it's Team Do It. TEAMDOWIT. Do whatever it takes. You can also follow, go to his website. A lot of information there, great content, merchandise. And that's at www.teamdowit.com. And again, if you're listening to this on your your device, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, it's going to be in the show notes. Just click the links, and it'll bring you right to Savon for sure. But man, so you've already dropped some serious game, all episode long. But let's just talk about now, real quick, next couple of minutes before we get you out of here. Design us a winning play for maybe that student athlete that's under the radar right now. Right, they're going into their junior year. They're a no-star athlete. No one in the country knows.
Right, absolutely.
They maybe they played JV last year, or even they played varsity, but now it's their time to shine. They're going through camp. They know they're going to be a starter. It's time to go. What what advice, what tips do you want to give to them and their family as far as really ratcheting up their recruiting and getting that exposure that they need?
Well, I will say this is first and foremost, in order for you to get looked at colleges, unless you're paying for school, is to make sure that you have some film. So, and without your film, your resume. So if you don't have, film or you're not producing on the field or court, then, it's going to be very hard if you're looking to get, money for sports specifically, for college, unless you're academically, you are really, really, really good. So the first and foremost thing I would like to say when it comes to this is to focus on just the season and maybe have a game plan in August around this time as far as the schools that you would like to hit after the season, but really focus on just football, because you don't want to start getting into that mindset that I want to get to this college, that college, because it'll make you lose focus on what's going to help you get there, and that's your film. So that's the first and foremost thing I would, make sure I do. I would make sure, again, have a list of about 10 to 15 schools that you may be interested in, whether that may be all within this region or different places. I would reach out to them throughout the season, email them, call them, fill out questionnaires, have your coach, help out as well, and get all those things in order. So when the football season's over, you can send all those things out. Or if you're having a phenomenal season, you have maybe a 6-week highlight, put that together and send it out. Coaches are very, very, anal with some of that stuff. So you got to make sure you're just on the same page with the coach. But again, that kind of happens organically, but it's just, you don't want to make sure it's not about you, because when you start doing that, then the coaches don't like that. So you got to just, again, be very transparent and kind of make sure the coach, the parents are all on the same page as far as what the kid's future is going to be within the next, 6 to 12 months, and it's going into their senior year. In the off season, it's pivotal that you obviously are, visiting schools, but that you hit the camp circuit. Now, depending on the sport, that has different things too. Whether in basketball, you're in the AAU circuit, in baseball, you're doing the travel circuit. In football, you want to make sure that you're hitting the college camps. So this is one thing now. And unless you are, like I said, if we're talking about a specifically no star recruit or whatever, going to those Nike and Under Armour and Adidas camps are cool, but there are no college coaches at those camps. And I want to make that clear, because people get caught up in the social media aspect. Listen, Nike, Under Armour, Adidas, or any of these other camps cannot give you any money to go to school. They can't. It's a whole different ball game.
Say that again.
And most of the kids are going.
Say that again, please.
Nike, Under Armour, Adidas, or all these camps that are provided throughout the off season cannot give you scholarship money to go to college. And if you want to go to college and potentially get some scholarship money, the two things that's going to help you do that is, one, your film, and you going to the actual college camps and go out there and perform it. doing the 1-day camps. Now, yes, 100% for all the people who, kids don't have, the big names, the college coaches 100% know exactly who they want to look at. So in your mind, what you need to do when you go to these camps, if you don't have a name, is you need to go up against the kids who they're looking at, because there's a 1,000 kids, they got their eye on probably 25 kids. If you're in that position, you need to make sure that you're going up against that kid who they're looking at, because that's the only way you're going to get noticed, to be honest with you. So you need to make sure that you're going up against those kids. You need to make sure, your times are good and all that stuff. That's the stuff that, you got to work on in the off season. But you need to be going to that, make sure you're doing that. Make sure you follow up with the coaches, introduce yourself, send them your film, and do those things, because those things are going to help you be able to, get an opportunity to be able to go to college for free. Also, at these different college camps, there's about 25 to 30 colleges at these camps. So that in turn also gives you an opportunity for you to get looked at by multiple colleges. Because again, the goal is to go to school for free or to get some money to go to school, not to be a name on social media with no scholarships. Then you kind of doing it backwards, because now you got all this attention, and now you posting this, and you got this workout video, this, and this workout video, this, but you paying for school. So the whole goal of this is to make sure that you're going to these camps. One thing I do notice about these kids is some of these kids feel that, one, you need to be realistic exactly what your talent level is and where you feel you need to go. You need to sit down with your parents and sit down with your coach and have these real conversations, because a lot of times these kids do feel they're entitled to be playing at some of these schools when they aren't that big enough or aren't that talented enough. So they focus on those particular schools, which in turn kind of, makes them, which in turn kind of hurts them, because then when they finally realize it, sometimes it's too late or it's very late in the game, and now they're scrambling. And then they're settling for other schools because they passed up an opportunity for a school because they thought they were here. Now, again, there's some kids in the instances who are deserving of that, but in a lot of cases, if they're getting, maybe FCS scholarships or Division II scholarships, and you're talking that you're a Division I player, okay, you need to sit down and figure out what's real. Because if a Division II school is willing to give you academic money, and you want to go to a Division I AA school because you feel like you're better than that, and no Division I AA school has pulled the trigger on you, okay, we need to reevaluate, unless you want to walk on. So those things are realistic conversations that you need to have with your child and with the coach to kind of see exactly where you stand in this all, because that can kind of get washed up. And that goes back to, again, even with me and the coach, I make sure that I'm honest and upfront with these kids very early in the process. Not saying that I crush their dreams or anything, but we also have to be realistic and see what type of player they fit into the different kind of schemes. Maybe even instead of them kids asking you where they go to as a coach, maybe you tell them, hey, go to this camp. That can alleviate that conversation about X, Y, and Z. So say if they do good in that camp, they can ask you. Say if they don't do good in that camp, then they kind of know where they stand. You know what I'm saying? So all those things taken into account as far as to what college is that you should be interested in. And again, make sure you just visit all the schools that you want to go to. And if you feel like you're really good enough and you want to go to some of these Nike Adidas and you're looking for that big time scholarship, make sure that you go there with the intent to make sure that you're competing against the best players. Because if you aren't, then it kind of defeats the purpose, because now you're just going to say you want to be able to go to these places and showcase your talent, because you can leverage social media in a positive light if you are exposing some of these bigger time recruits. But if you're not doing that and you just go on and say, I went to the camp, then it's kind of a waste of everybody's time unless you're going for the experience. So that's what I would say to parents who don't, have that 5-star kid. And listen, there's people with 2 stars or 1 stars who are, Pro Bowlers or, who are NBA All-Stars, so it's not saying that it's impossible, but just to be educated on the nuances of it.
Love it. And my man, I definitely got to have you back for another episode. Again, talking with Savon Huggins. Team Do It. Give him a follow on Instagram. Go to Team Do Whatever It Takes, but it's short. Team DOWIT. That's Team DOWIT. Savon, I appreciate you, my man. And for all my high school athletes and parents, remember, college recruitment starts with you. What steps are you taking today? That's right. What steps are you taking today to earn an athletic scholarship tomorrow?